In this video, I'd like to share one of my worst memory slips from high school, and hopefully this story will reframe some of your ideas around the notions of performing in public and what it means to have a memory slip or to have a lousy performance when you're playing for people. I'll never forget it. It was for a competition, of all things, and it was the state level of the MTNA competition. This was the state competition for Rhode Island. I'd been preparing a handful of pieces for this competition for months. It was probably at least 4 or 5 months. I was working on this repertoire, getting it in my fingers, memorizing it, bringing it to the highest level I possibly could. And here we were for the big day. And the piece I had the memory slip on was one of the movements of one of the Bach partitas. I was nearing the end of the A section, and everything escaped me. I couldn't remember what came next. I couldn't remember what key we were in. It was like my mind drew a total blank. And in that moment, I felt myself going into panic mode. I could feel my heart sinking into the floor. And a lot of things happened all in a really short period of time. The first is that, you know how they say when you're about to die, you see your life flash before your eyes? It wasn't that severe, but it was kind of like that. In that moment, I felt myself re-experiencing all of those hours of practice and preparing, thinking, oh my gosh, this has all been for nothing. Competition victory is escaping me with every second that passes by that I can't find my starting place. And then the second thing that was happening during this memory slip, I often think of memory slips as being the pilot of an airplane and the engine has suddenly gone out, and you have precious moments to decide what to do. And for us musicians, we have a certain period of time that we really need to find some place to start and get going before it starts to really get awkward, or we need to go back to the beginning. Or worse yet, just stop playing, take kind of an awkward bow, and then shamefully go back to our seat. I felt those moments passing where I just could not find my place. So I chose door number 1 and went back to the very beginning. Now here's where it felt really awkward because this was the end of a repeated section where I had the memory slip. So I went back to the beginning, did not have the wherewithal at the time to think, okay, I'll just treat this like the second time through. I treated it like the first time through again. Had to go back through the memory slip part, managed to push through that time, but then I did the repeat and had to go through it again. So I ended up playing this section of the music 3 times, basically. I got through the rest of that piece fine. I got through the rest of my program fine, but the entire time, rather than enjoying the music, sharing it with people, all my mind was thinking about was, oh my gosh, I really bombed it on the Bach. This is the most embarrassing memory slip ever. There's no way I'm gonna win. The last 5 to 6 months have been wasted. I finished my competition set, went to my seat, and just stared at the floor as the other competitors played. Didn't want to look at anybody, didn't want to talk to anybody. I pretty much just wanted to go home. So can you imagine my shock when I ended up winning the competition? Now this isn't about the celebrating musicality or victory in this moment. There's a bigger point here. That's not the point that I ended up winning the competition, because my teacher did make it clear that I was incredibly lucky to have won, because while the other 2 competitors did not have memory slips, she made it clear that they played pretty badly and I should thank my lucky stars, and that's the only way that I won this competition. And I went on to the division round and proceeded to be slaughtered. Did not win anything, no honorable mentions, nothing. But this memory slip experience would stick with me for a long time. I would have other memory slips that were as severe, if not worse, over the course of college and in other performances. But this one in particular stood out. And as I've started doing more teaching, I've started reflecting more on the bigger picture of little things like this. Why do we get so preoccupied, or why do we obsess so much about the memory slip? We've all had students over the years who have performed in public, had one memory slip, and decided never to perform again. Or some students just decide never to even start because they're afraid that they might have a memory slip, and they just never perform, or never branch out and try to perform something from memory. Why is this? So I'd like to reframe your expectations or your perceptions of the memory slip. Now, of course, there is a reason why. It's, comes from the amygdala and the fight or flight response, and we naturally worry what other people think about us. But just acknowledging that and trying to reframe can do some pretty remarkable things. So I'd like to invite you to reframe your perception of the memory slip and think of it not so much as a shortcoming of the musician, but as a celebration of our humanity. Perfection is not it's impossible. There is no such thing as perfection. And even when we see concert artists on the stage playing something that seems to be perfect, I think we often take it for granted that that musician has probably had that repertoire for years, if not decades. So of course they know it backwards and forwards, and even then they'll probably still play a wrong note here or there, or maybe even have a memory slip. So as I look back on the memory slips I've witnessed over the years and witness now, I see it not as a shortcoming by any means, but if anything, again, just almost a celebration of our humanity. It makes me feel better about myself when I see a performing artist have one of these experiences, because I'll think, okay, wow, if that can happen to that person, I certainly feel better about myself. It can happen with anybody. And as I mentioned earlier, in that moment of the competition, and I thought that my last 5-6 months of preparation were wasted, that's of course certainly not true at all. I gained lots of skill over that time. I learned new repertoire. I learned how to practice better. And even though I was so focused on this moment of the performance, in this case a competition, the outcome of that had nothing to do with the skills and the confidence that I gained over that time. So what I'm hoping you'll get out of this story are a few things. First, sort of a reframing of the memory slip or a performance that doesn't go quite so well. And just this notion that a performance is essentially an outcome. It's the result of your work. And it has nothing to do with the time that you've put in. If we have a performance in public that does not go so well, that is completely separate from the weeks and the months of building those skills, learning the music, learning how to learn. And that is the stuff that really counts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, do hit that subscribe button for more videos like this, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.